Alright, guys, welcome along to Hellmouth Hotline. This is Wednesday evening, and this is the night we do Angel, the spin off to Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Fantastic episode, fantastic series. This is titled Guise Will Be Guise. Guise spelled Guise. So, yes, Guise Will Be Guise. It is Season 2, Episode 6, and it's a break off from the main storyline of the series. Now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. These shows, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, they've got a running storyline throughout the entire season, and every once in a while they'll break off and do like a bit of a standalone episode that really doesn't have anything to do with the bigger picture of the thing. Although, in all fairness, there is a few little things sprinkled inside these episodes that are essential to see. So just because you get into this one, you start to realise, okay, so this isn't going to talk too much into the overall storyline. I can maybe skip this episode, go on to the next one. Don't trust me. Check them all out. Very, very worth watching. So, beginning of this episode, the Hyperion Hotel, Angel's headquarters. This guy walks in, and he's looking for Angel's services, and he comes across as a bit of a gangster sort of a type. Wesley is the only one there trying to handle things, and he's Wesley been Wesley. You know, he's been clumsy, he slips and falls and whatnot. You know, he's trying his hardest to sell the agency and what to do and whatnot. And this guy's like, you know, I don't want to be pawned off and a secretary, more or less. And he's like, you know, tell your boss he wants to run a serious business, not to be, you know, palming us off with the friggin' secretary. So like Wesley takes a bit of a offence to this. Like, I'm not a secretary. I'm shoulder to shoulder with the boss here, sort of thing. So the guy leaves, and Wesley, he's kind of beating himself up for costing the company business. And Cordelia rushes in at this point to tell him that Angel is trying to break in to Wolfram and Hart. So we cut over to the lower levels of the law firm. And Angel and Gunn successfully enter the building from the sewers, only to be met by Wesley and Cordelia. They've got there to try and stop Angel from trying this attack on Wolfram and Hart. They get in disguised as lawyers, and they're trying to get hold Angel and remind him that, you know, Wolfram Hart's got these vampire detectors, so they're going to know that he's there at this point. And Gunn, he gets pissed to learn like he's all up for it, you know, and here for a fight, and you know, the guy's got a plan, sort of thing. But he's not happy to hear that the plan is to get in there and simply find Darla before anybody can stop them. At this point, a guard confronts the group. Angel responds by sticking a stake into the man's foot. The vampire detectors go off. You got the security staff that turn up with these battens, and flick of a switch, a stake pops out the end of the batten. And funny little line from Angel here, as messed up as they've got his character in this run of this series so far. You know, Cordelia and Wesley is like, you know, you're not thinking straight. You know, you're working off your emotions, and you're just angry. And of course, this little security guard pops up with this stake. Angel attacks him, stabs the stake into the guy's foot, and walks off. And he says, "Oh, maybe I'm a little bit angry." And it's just a little dry bit of humour to open up the episode. There you are, we're 4 minutes in, and this isn't even the opening credits of the episode. So the gang head off to Caritas, the bar where the host, Lorne Green, another tasty little joke from later in the series. We'll get to that in due course. yeah, they take him to the host so Angel can sing, get a little bit of advice from the host. Gunn's bewildered that, all the times all the years he's lived in LA and he didn't know this sort of thing was going on. So over with the host, Angel explains that he feels that he needs to do something about Darla. Cordelia is relieved whenever Angel comes back and he says he didn't have to sing. The host has referred him to the Tesh McGev, a powerful, there's a wee bit of the Northern Ireland slang coming out. The Tesh McGev, a powerful Swami known for helping with this kind of problem. So while Cordelia and Wesley hold down the office, Angel clears off to go and see this guy. Wesley and Cordelia, they're keeping things going as best they can, and a fog comes into the hotel connected to this guy we've seen at the beginning of the episode, and pretty much holds Cordelia at gunpoint and demands to see Angel. And Wesley's out in the background and he hears this guy saying that he'd kill her if she cannot produce Angel immediately. So improvising, Wesley throws on one of Angel's long coats and poses as Angel to save Cordelia's life. When they get to the house, Wesley almost blows his cover by entering the mansion. This guy takes him to this mansion. My notes, I'm just realising, aren't that detailed in the way that English words are meant to be put together to make things sound properly until I say something. And I'm like, when they get to the house, and I'm just thinking to myself, the person sitting on the other side of this podcast listening to this here, what house? Where are they at? Who are they? So this fug, thinking that he's got Angel, takes Wesley with him to this mansion, and the guy walks through the door, and Wesley just walks through the door behind him, and then the guy just before he turns back towards Wesley says, "I invite you in," and in that split second Wesley jumps back out through the doorway. I was like, oh, thank you very much for the invitation. There's a lot of comedy on this episode. Wesley is... He's great on this episode. He's then introduced to Magnus Bryce, a rich businessman who's made a fortune by mass producing spells and enchantments. He has requested Angel's services to protect his daughter from assassins from a rival corporation fronted by this guy Paul Lanier. Bryce then offers Wesley a glass of blood, and Wesley, he has to take a drink out of it, but after a few sips he tips it into a plant in the background of the house whenever nobody's watching. Meanwhile, up with Angel, he arrives at the Tesh McGev's cabin and finds that the Swami appears just like a regular guy. He was thinking like something supernatural is going to be written on him. Nonetheless, the Tesh McGev shows some insights about Angel's character based on how he presents himself. And, there's a lot of self-help nonsense coming out of this guy. And he's like, your problem is the car you drive. You're a vampire, yet you're driving a convertible car, sort of thing. And, everything, like the style that you put into yourself, why you're all black and this sort of thing. And the Angel's like, it's just if you're all black, you don't have to, worry about matching colours and whatnot. And they even gives him a stick about the hair gel. If you don't see your reflection, why put so much work into it? And the guy's like, the Angel's like, I don't know, sort of thing. But the guy's just like, you may not have a real reflection, you're reflecting the people around you, sort of a thing. So, as I say, a lot of self-help nonsense, really, with Angel here. Back over with Wesley, he meets Bryce's daughter, Virginia, who he's supposed to protect. He then nearly reveals his true identity by standing in front of a mirror, and jumps back, and he's like, cover all the mirrors in here. And everybody's like, why the hell should we cover all the mirrors? Like, we all know you're a vampire, sort of thing. And he's like, do it. And he makes up the excuse, if the attack was to happen here, I wouldn't want my, the people, the attackers, to work out too quickly that I'm a vampire. So bullshitting the whole thing out there to try and keep this rouse going. Virginia talks of Wesley about being lonely, having spent most of her life in her room due to numerous threats over the years. Wesley urges Virginia to be careful, and she accepts Angel / Wesley as her boyfriend. Wesley. How did I say Wesley as in Wesley? I am too tired. I should really record these earlier in the day before I have gone to work and done a full shift. I'm completely knackered right now, and just the English language just doesn't come that well to me whenever I'm tired. So now that Virginia has a bodyguard, she decides, right, we're going to go shopping. Wesley's been the idiot that he is, again forgets that he's playing a vampire in this episode, pretend to be a vampire. He asks, you'd rather not wait until the morning, only to realise that shopping in the day isn't safe for a vampire. So back over at the Hyperion Hotel, Cordelia enlists the help of Gunn to rescue Wesley. She sends him to collect the Angel from the Swami while she tries to identify the man who held her at gunpoint. Over with Wesley / Angel there in this store that sells wizard supplies, as Wesley escorts Virginia as she looks for a gift for her father's upcoming 50th birthday. She wants something depicting the goddess Yaska, as her father is a fan. The two talk about Virginia's relationship with her father, although she notices Wesley is fiddling with a crucifix absent-mindedly, and she mentions it to him, is that not sore? Wesley pretends to be burned, sticks his hand in an ice bucket. At this point, two thugs sent by Paul Lanier then try to abduct Virginia, but they back off immediately when they realise that Angel is with her. So over to Tesh McGeev's house, Angel and the McGeev fight with staffs while discussing Angel and his inner demon. Later, the McGeev phones Paul Lanier, who hired the imposter to kill the real McGeev and keep Angel busy. McGeev then tells Lanier he doesn't know how long he can keep up the act, as he's worried that Angel might smell blood coming from the real McGeev's body. The guy on the other end of the phone is confused, Paul Lanier, since he believes that Angel is protecting Virginia, and begins to wonder who the English guy with Virginia is. Back over at the hotel, Cordelia, she's looking through mugshots on the police database, and she lets her eyes wander to a gossip magazine, only to identify the gunman in the photo with Bryce and Virginia. Back over with Wesley, he escorts Virginia to her room as she talks about how angry she's feeling, not just at the kidnapped attempts, but just her whole life, and she believes being treated as a prisoner is no way to spend that life. As they get to the bedroom, they find two cloaked guards standing outside, like guarding it, but one of them tries to grab Virginia as the other attempts to stun Wesley with a firework. Wesley skillfully manages to fight off the two of them, and they start running. The nearest Guise has got into the house, more or less, at this point. So Wesley, in a stunning moment of, ass kicking, saves the day. Virginia is grateful once again, but she's surprised that Angel / Wesley didn't put on his vampire face. Wesley explains that he's not like most vampires. So back at the Tesh McGeev's house, Angel and this guy, they fish by the lake at the cabin, and the McGeev imposter discusses Wolfram and Hart's resurrection of Darla and Angel's desire to get to her. Angel describes Darla as small, blonde and beautiful. He then confesses that a part of him hates her for what she did to him. The McGeev suggests that he might feel better if he goes out, finds a small blonde, and to just have a one night stand with, break her heart, sort of a thing. Angel, at this point, he's looking a little bit uncertain here. If this guy was a Tesh McGeev, if he is a real Swami, he should know everything that's going on with him. The vampire with the soul, and the whole moment of happiness thing. We got back to the mansion. Virginia and Wesley make it back to the room. Virginia reaffirms her wish to move out and live in her own life, even if it would be less glamorous than the one she now has. Wesley, he's fairly supportive in her desires, and the two of them begin to kiss. Suddenly, Virginia backs off, telling them she knows about the curse. Wesley is raging at this point. He's just like, oh, I'm going to get it off of a hot woman, and because he's pretending to be Angel, she knows about the curse. He's like, screw this. So he tries to excuse the curse. It's nothing more than a simple hex. But Virginia suspects he's lying to her, and he decides to tell her the truth about his identity. But Virginia then cuts him off, and the two of them end up sleeping together. Next morning, Gunn arrives at the cabin to collect Angel, but the McGill imposter knocks him out before he can go inside. Angel then appears on the porch, realising the real Swami is dead. McGill isn't worried since he's standing out of reach of Angel and just direct sunlight, and he's like, I'm not too worried about you right now because you can't get to me, sort of thing. So Angel uses the fishing rod that the McGill and him were using to fish the previous night, and casts the line and hooks the imposter's lip, reels him in, threatening to demonstrate how his inner demon can really be. Back over with Wesley, he wakes up next to Virginia, content with how the previous night went. He gets dressed and leaves the room only to encounter Cordelia in the hallway, who has arrived to rescue him. Wesley tells her he can't leave, he's got a job to do. And Cordelia's like, what the hell's wrong with you, tit? Come on. Yeah. She reminds Wesley, you're not Angel, you can't do things, and you're in over your head. At this point, Bryce and his guards arrive, now knowing the real Angel isn't protecting Virginia, but an imposter. Lanier let the word out that this is an Angel that's here. Wesley attempts to keep up the charade, and he's dragged over to the window. They pull up the blind, direct sunlight on him, exposing the lie. Wesley reveals his true identity to Virginia. She is absolutely furious. She feels her life was in danger. Given that she had no supernatural protection, she was like, I was walking about thinking I had like vampire protection here. She's also upset because she thought she had finally made a real friend, but it was all based on deception. So it's a nice little moment in the episode as far as like the acting and that goes. Wesley, you can see that he's hurt that he hurt her, sort of thing. You can see he's got some real emotion in here for her. He just wants to protect her, but now the lie's been exposed. They get kicked out. Bryce, he kicks Wesley and Cordelia out and gets into his army of people that, guns and like gangster sorts, around there for bringing him the wrong guy. The man's mistake has... These guys' mistake has risked ruining the upcoming sacrifice at his birthday party, and he orders security to step up, determined to make it the party of his life, and not just his, Virginia's. Wesley and Cordelia arrive back at the hotel pretty much at the same time as Angel and Gunn, and they bring everybody up to speed on what's happened. They determined that Lanier set up the fake McGill and then told Bryce the truth about Angel. They also suspect that Lanier will make his move at his 50th birthday party, being held that night. When Wesley mentions the party will include tributes to the goddess Yeska, Angel reveals Yeska isn't a goddess but a Davrik demon. Wesley then gets his watcher skills going, and He knows of them, but he's confused. They don't serve humans unless they make a sacrifice on their 50th birthday party. Wesley then realises that Bryce intends to sacrifice his own daughter, Virginia, at the party. Lanier was trying to abduct her to prevent the sacrifice because Bryce stands to gain a lot of power if he's successful. Wesley sets out to rescue Virginia, lays out a plan of action, only to be reminded that Angel is supposed to be in charge. And, he defers back to him, but Angel decides, let Wesley take the lead sort of thing. And then the rest of the episode, Wesley's marching out at the head of the group with the big long black flowing coat on, and the Angel's like, can I have my coat back, sort of a thing. So over at the party, Virginia, walking about bored as per usual, she notices a large stone sculpture in the centre of the room, and she's like, what the hell is this for? And she soon finds herself chained to it while Bryce begins to summon Yaska. Virginia begs to be let out, but Bryce tells her that what he's doing is very difficult. But he continues. Suddenly, Wesley and the rest of the Angel crew burst in, and a fight starts with the guards. Wesley runs to Virginia, attempting to release her and reminding her of his promise to protect her. However, Bryce manages to successfully call up Yaska. Yaska appears and she approaches Virginia. She hasn't been gotten out of the restraints at this point, but Wesley's there trying his best to protect her, but the Yaska appears, approaches Virginia and rejects her, saying that the sacrifice is impure, and disappears. Bryce can't believe Virginia isn't a virgin. As far as she had to be, he had to sacrifice a virgin, his daughter, and her whole life he's been keeping her away from men and whatnot. And he's raging that Wesley has slept with her the night before, much to everybody's shock in the room. So the reason he wanted Angel to protect her is because he couldn't have, he knew the curse, and calls Angel a eunuch. But he's a eunuch, he can't have sex, sort of thing. That's why I hired him, to protect you. This wouldn't happen. Angel takes offense at this. I'm not a eunuch. Cordelia voices her disbelief that Wesley was getting action after pretending to be Angel for one day. She's just like, what the hell, he's Angel for a day and he's finally getting it on. Angel begins to explain the curse isn't that clear regarding sex. He's sort of like sitting in the background, like, I'm not a eunuch. It's not even that clear. So maybe I could have that sort of thing. It's just, it's not clear what the tipping point is. Just because the last time turned me evil in season 2 of Buffy, it doesn't mean it's going to happen again, sort of thing. So he's just sitting there, sort of just going over his own shit in the background. Virginia then walks to her dad, and she tells him, I haven't been a virgin for a long time. Wesley's relieved at this point, he's not going to get his ass kicked for the night before. And Virginia begins listing off names of the family staff she's had relationships. She then denounces him as her father and punches him in the face. Everybody been satisfied now? The gang leaves, not before Angel again insists to your man that I'm not a eunuch. A couple of days later, Cordelia is furious to discover that since Wesley started dating Virginia after this, he has appeared in gossip pages as a private detective and bodyguard. As she complains that, reflected glory is her thing. And Angel tells her, don't be jealous, just let him have his moment in the sun. And once alone, he looks at the article himself and he's like, Wesley, bodyguard to the stars. And then at the end of the episode, just as it's cut to black, and he's like, there is no London Price agency. So, obviously at the end of the episode, Wesley is, making the most of this here and taking credit for just about everything that ever happened since the beginning of time. So, fantastic episode. Again, don't skip over it. Just because you start to realise it's not a big part of the episode, or a big part of the running storyline for the series, doesn't mean there's not going to be something in there. It's like the whole part in the episode where Angel was going to see this Tesh McGev, Swami character. You do get some of more of his, it's kind of stuff you already really know, but it's the way that it's packaged and put out in this sort of thing. Really, he's kind of going through like a little therapy session, so you get to see a little bit more of him and how he sees himself, and and even though this guy was hired to just keep him out of the way for a while, and he does all that self-help mumbo jumbo, a lot of it makes pretty good sense too. So definitely fantastic episode, a fantastic series all around. I absolutely love it. That's going to do it, guys. As per usual, like and review, share the episode along, check out the website Coins Age Media for everything else that I'm doing. Coinsagemedia.com, sorry, for everything else that I'm doing. And yes, the email to the show is Hellmouth Hotline at gmail.com if you want to get in touch. Yeah, that's going to do it, guys. Stay safe, and I will talk to you on the next episode.